Yamuna Tira Vana Chori Yamuna Tira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhaktivinoda Sandra Prabhupada ki jai, Amachar Hari Thakur ki jai, Prem Sagaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopita Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giti Gabritan ki jai, Sri Vrindavan ki jai, Navadvipdam ki jai, Gang Shabona Tulsi Bhakti Devi ki jai, Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Go Premanandi, all glories to Him, devotees, all glories to Him, devotees, all glories to Him, devotees, all glories to Sri Guru Ji Garanga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasad Buddha Shimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pachadane Nirvishesha Shanyavari Paschatya Shatadane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 10 chapter 74 verse 44. Shabda Kola Halo Tasit Shupale Hate Mahan Tasyano Yaino Bupa Dadruvor Jetvaishina. Sabda, sound, kola, uproar, thereupon, asit, there was, Shishupala, ate, being killed, mahan, huge, tasya, his, anuyayina, followers, Bhupa, kings, Dudruvu, fled, Jivata, their lives, Ishna, hoping to save. Translation: when Shishupala was thus killed, a great roar and howl went up from the crowd. Taking advantage of that disturbance, the few kings who were supporters of Shishupala quickly left the assembly out of fear for their lives. Purport: the above translation is taken from Srila Prabhupada's Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead. An effulgent light rose from Shishupala's body, and as everyone watched, entered Lord Krishna just as a meteor falling from the sky to the earth. Purport: in this connection, the Acharya remind us that Shishupala is actually one of the Lord's eternal associates, playing the part of a belligerent demon. Thus, to most observers, it appears that Shishupala achieved the impersonal liberation, emerging into Lord Krishna's bodily effulgence. In fact, after being liberated from his mortal frame, Shishupala returned to the side of his master, the Supreme Lord of the spiritual world. The following verse further explains this. Obsessed with hatred of Lord Krishna throughout 3 lifetimes, Shishupala attained the Lord's transcendental nature. Indeed, one's consciousness determines one's future birth. Purport: Shishupala and his friend Dantavakra, who will be killed by Krishna in chapter 78, were previously Jai and Vijay, 2 gatekeepers in Vaikuntha. Because of the offense, the 4 Kumars cursed them to take 3 births in the material world as demons. The first birth was as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakasipu, the second as Ravana and Kumbhakarna, and the third as Shishupala and Dantavakra. In each birth, they were completely absorbed in enmity towards the Lord and were slain by him. Srila Prabhupada explains the position of Shishupala as follows. Although Shishupala acted as the enemy of Krishna, he was not for a single moment out of Krishna consciousness. He was always absorbed in thought of Krishna, and thus he first got the salvation of Sayuja Mukti, emerging into the existence of the Supreme, and finally became reinstated in his original position of personal service. The Bhagavad Gita corroborates the fact that one who is absorbed in the thought of the Supreme Lord at the time of death immediately enters the kingdom of God after quitting his material body. The 3rd and 7th cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam elaborately describe the incident wherein the Lord's personal associates were cursed to come to the material world as his enemies. In this connection, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti quotes the following verse: Vairanu Banda Tivrena Jane Achuta Satmatam Nitao Punar Hare Parsvam Jagmatua Vishnu Parshado. These 2 associates of Lord Vishnu, Jai and Vijay, maintained a feeling of enmity for a very long time. Because of always thinking of Krishna in this way, they regained the shelter of the Lord, having returned home back to Godhead. So here we have the conclusion of this portion about the killing of Shishupala, which occurred within the Rajasuya sacrifice story. So this killing also has its own history, and previously in 3rd canto it was described how Hiranyaksha was killed, and then later on Hiranyakasipu was killed. So the 3 killings, 3 times getting killed 3 times by the Lord, were 2 of them were described previously, and then when Krishna appeared, the 2 demons again manifested, and they were also killed by Krishna. So this is one of them, Shishupala. The other is Dantavakra. So all this took place because of a curse. So the immediate question is, well, how can they fall from the spiritual world? So the answer is that generally people do not fall, but for pastimes, Krishna or Vishnu sometimes makes an arrangement for those eternal associates to manifest in the material world. So this is not a common feature of the spiritual world. It's a uncommon affair. So in this case, due to the curse of the Kumaras, they came to the material world and were born 3 times, and then they returned to their positions. So in one sense, we cannot criticize them because it's an arrangement of the Lord, an arrangement by which they became angry and they insulted the Kumaras. Normally they wouldn't have done that. So all this arrangement of Supreme Lord. So for his pastimes and why have them come to the material world? One reason is that Supreme Lord desired to fight with a able person. So better that his associates fight with him than a material demon. So therefore, this arrangement was made. And this was by the desire of the Jai and Vijay that they would like to fight with the Lord. So therefore, the Lord made this arrangement. So therefore, they after they were killed 3 times, then they returned to their positions. In this case, it was through merging into Krishna's body. Then they went back to Vaikuntha. In this case, so we find another case of Aghasura merged into the body of Krishna, and then he got a 4-arm form later on in the spiritual world. So we should not assume that by merging into Krishna that they stayed there. They could later get assume their spiritual body again. So this was an arrangement of the Lord, and of course there's another way of explaining it. And Vishnu Chakravarti explains that actually they didn't fall. They had expansions, and through those expansions they came to the material world. And at the same time, they were still in the spiritual world. Why? Because the Lord cannot bear separation from his devotees. Now they're just, you can say, well, they're just gatekeepers, so they're not intimate associates. But no, these are associates of the Lord, even if they're gatekeepers, and the Lord has an intimate relationship with all of his devotees. So therefore, he could never bear separation, so they could never fall. So just to fulfill that curse, and then their expansions came to the material world. And Vishwanath gives proof that later on, after they had fallen, and there's, I think, 8th canto, there's a description of how the demons and the are fighting with the Devatas, and Vishnu and even Jai and Vijay, they're fighting with the demons. So that means that they're still in the spiritual world and they're accompanying the Supreme Lord. So that's another way of explaining it. They actually didn't fall, and their expansions fell for pastimes. Jiva Goswami explains that actually they fell from the Vaikuntha within the material world. The avatar of the Supreme Lord created a Vaikuntha planet for his mother. He's a Manvantara avatar, so he created a Vaikuntha planet in the material world. So that's where all of this took place, the cursing and the falling and the coming back. So the ones that didn't fall from the real spiritual world, they fell from somewhere in the material world. So that's the Jiva's explanation there. Huh? Yeah, he explains that Vaikuntha within the material world also. Yeah. So anyway, that's another explanation. And then Rupa Goswami says, actually you should not think that every day of Brahma, Jai and Vijay fall out of the spiritual world and come to the material world. Usually it's just demons. The Hiranyakasipu, and they're just demons. They're not Jai and Vijay at all. So this is a rare instance where Jai and Vijay took up the roles of the demons. But generally it's just demons, like Kamsa's a demon or other demons, Ravana's a demon. So they're not actually Jai and Vijay and every day of Brahma in all the different universes. So this is a very rare occasion when the Lord made this arrangement to satisfy his devotees for Virya Rasa or whatever. So in this case, it's Jai and Vijay, so they return to their positions in the spiritual world after they are killed the third time. So then automatically they would return after the third time. But in other cases, the explanation is that why would they go to Vaikuntha? Because generally, if the Lord kills a demon, they simply don't go to hell and they get a nice position. So when Narasimhadev killed Hiranyakasipu, he got a good position. When Varaha killed Hiranyaksha, he got a good position. When Rama killed Ravana, then he got a position as Shishupala, etc. So they don't go to the spiritual world. But when Krishna killed the two demons, then they went to Vaikuntha. So then, using that exceptional case, why they went to Vaikuntha when Krishna killed them, then the explanation is given because Krishna is more attractive. And therefore they concentrated on Krishna. And they became obsessed with Krishna in their mind. And therefore, because they thought of him at all times, they attained him. Whereas the other demons didn't even get liberation. When Hiranyakasipu and Hiranyaksha were killed, they didn't get liberation. When Rama killed Ravana, didn't get liberation. But when Krishna killed the demon here, Shishupala, then he went to Vaikuntha. Not just liberation, he went to Vaikuntha. Why? Because he was concentrating on Krishna. Because Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, most attractive of all. And therefore, even though they hated him, they concentrated on him in hatred. So, therefore, even hatred is said to be a cause of advancement in this case with Krishna, because one becomes completely absorbed with hatred. At the same time, we do not call this bhakti because it's not favorable. It's hatred. So, in general, when demons get killed, and even if they go to Vaikuntha, we should not think that those demons get what the devotees get, because then there would be no impetus for the devotees. You could just say, let us all become demons and get killed by Krishna, and then we go to Vaikuntha and we don't have to worry about it. Same. No, so it's different. Yes, due to the extraordinary mercy of the Lord, they may get Vaikuntha, not all the time. Some of them get merely Sayuja Mukti. Some get Vaikuntha. So it's not that you're guaranteed when you get killed by Krishna to get Vaikuntha. You may get only Brahman. And, of course, even if you get to the spiritual world, the relationship is not as intense as that which the devotees achieve by practicing bhakti and cultivating a favorable attitude towards the Lord. So there is a difference. So the Putana was entered the spiritual world. She assumed the role of a nurse, like a mother, but also quite distant. And therefore the relationship was not as blissful as someone who practices Vatsalya rasa in the material world and then attains that in the spiritual world. So there's a difference in the relationship, that in the ultimate result when a devotee goes to the spiritual world or when a demon goes to the spiritual world by the mercy of Krishna. So, and of course one would have to wait to be killed by Krishna instead of by another demon to get to Vaikuntha. So it's a big chance one would have to take. And the result is not so, not as intense. So in any case, in this case it was already devotees who took the role of the demons, and therefore automatically after the third killing, they returned to their positions in the spiritual world and had the same relationship as before. In other cases, by that concentration on the Lord, if they concentrate on Krishna, then they will attain a spiritual form in the spiritual world, depending on the form they concentrate on. but it has to be intense concentration. So it is described that Shishupala, like Kamsa, was obsessed with Krishna. And he was always thinking of him day and night, waking, sleeping, talking. He was always thinking about that enemy Krishna and how he had to kill him. So he was even completely absorbed in him. That did not happen with Hiranyakasipu or Ravana. They were not always thinking of Rama or Narasimhadev or even Vishnu. In fact, the opposite. But Shishupala became absorbed in Krishna. Why? Because of his attractive qualities. Therefore, he became completely absorbed in it. So, unconsciously or accidentally, we can say, somehow the beauty of Krishna acted as an impetus for him to concentrate more and more, even though it was hatred. So, even though Shishupala saw Krishna and meditated on, he actually didn't see the spiritual form of Krishna. He could not, because he was material, demon. He didn't have spiritual eyes. So definitely he didn't see the real spiritual form. But still, Krishna is so attractive that somehow he concentrated on him. By doing so, gradually all of his anarthas were destroyed. And then finally, when Krishna decided he would kill him with the Sudarshan Chakra and cut off his head, then at that moment he had become completely purified. And then he looked at the Lord when he was dying, and he saw the actual form of the Lord. So he could actually meditate on the real spiritual form of Krishna. And this chakra itself is non-different from Krishna. So therefore it's also Satchidananda. So when it touched him, then he was full of Satchidananda and he was qualified for the spiritual world. In this remarkable way, Shishupala was killed. He did not contaminate the sacrificial arena with the blood or anything. And moreover, he merged into Krishna. And then from there, he attained spiritual world. So the killing of Shishupala therefore became a glorious end to Shishupala's life. So when in other days of Brahma, Dantavakra and Shishupala are not Jai and Vijay, still, because Krishna is Krishna, they became absorbed in him, and still they went to the spiritual world. So it's not just because they were Jai and Vijay they went to Vaikuntha. In other cases also, in other days of Brahma, when they get killed by Krishna, they attain spiritual world. Why? Because of concentration on the Lord, even in hatred, and because Krishna is most attractive. So this illustrates that Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan. He manifests more attractive qualities than any other form of the Lord. Now in Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Rupa Goswami says that Narasimha, Rama, and Krishna are called Purna avatars. So they're definitely higher than all the other forms like Varaha and Hayagriva and Matsya and Kurama, etc., even though they're also pretty high. But Rama and Narasimha and Krishna are called Purna avatar. They significantly more qualities are showed. But of those three, Krishna shows the most. And therefore, when he kills the demons, they end up in Vaikuntha rather than in Brahman or in material world. So, therefore, this incident shows the special nature of Krishna, manifesting more qualities. And therefore, he becomes the object of intense meditation, even in hatred. So, this also shows that Krishna does not hate demons at all, because he gives them such a benediction. We can also say that yes, Krishna is more merciful than any form of the Lord, because he does more remarkable things by giving them places in the spiritual world, etc. So that's definitely another feature of Krishna, his very great mercy. In any case, this incident shows the special arrangement of the Lord so that even the demon can get some sort of advancement.
See that when Krishna manifested his Leelas on Vrindavan, other places, wherever he is, there were innumerable living entities which are not visible to our eyes, like the bacteria and insects, were killed by the Lord himself. What would have been their position? Did they get any Ajnana Sukriti because of that aspect? The invisible insects and bacteria which go around in the material world. Like when we say we commit sin by when we walk, we're stamping something.
Oh.
Like it happened to Krishna and they got...
Well, he got a spiritual body, so it won't have... If he steps on an insect, it's not the same. It doesn't have to kill it. He doesn't breathe in and kill insects or bacteria that way either, because he got a spiritual body. So it's completely different. So he doesn't commit any sin.
No, but what happens to those souls who get association like that?
Well, they may get association, but they don't get killed. So definitely everything advances by any contact with the Supreme Lord in any form. And with Krishna they get more advancement. But it's specifically mentioned that those who are killed by the Supreme Lord, they don't go to hell, that they get some sort of advancement. In the case of Krishna, they can get liberation or go to Vaikuntha. So that's getting directly killed by the Lord when he fights with them. So the other accident, there's no, we can't say that Krishna accidentally kills other living entities or whatever like that. Since he's got a spiritual body, it's only by intention that he would kill. But they all get advantage in any case, whatever living entity contacts the Supreme Lord in any way.
Does the souls go directly to Vaikuntha?
No, not necessarily. No, but they get the advancement definitely by contact.
That means at the time of death, if someone remember Krishna, he go to Krishna, or someone, according to the consciousness. And we see here, at the time of death, Shishpal was remembering Krishna, completely absorbed in Krishna, and he got purified also. But he's supposed to go to Goloka, not the Vaikuntha, but he went to Vaikuntha.
Well, of course, Krishna also has four-handed form, which he probably saw then, because he had his chakra and whatever like that. And secondly, he was, in this case, he was actually Jai and Vijay from Vaikuntha, so therefore he naturally go there.
Or can you say that because of their particular service in this spiritual world, so only to perform their service, they are just like a representative. They have particular service in Vaikuntha.
Yeah.
Because of that, they are just invested in their service.
Yeah. So in this case, they would return after 3 births to their positions again. So that's what they did.
But remember, they're supposed to go to Dwarka or somewhere else.
They could. In other cases where they're not Jai and Vijay, then they could meditate on Krishna and go to Dwarka in the spiritual world. Though it's not mentioned anywhere, but that would be the assumption.
Why these 3 forms are that like you are saying Krishna, Rama, and Shiva, mentioning so special, because we see even Varaha also, he also did some pastimes.
Yeah. So they show more powers and more qualities. It's not specifically mentioned what powers, but Rupa Goswami classifies them on different levels. So yeah, on the bottom we have, of course, those that are just like sages, like Dattatreya, Mohini Avatar, Kapila, etc. They don't even kill demons, or they just and they're there for a very short period of time. Then we have those that last a longer time, whatever, and show a little more powers. Then we have those that show more powers, and more powers. They're called Paravasta forms, or like Varaha, who lifts up the Bhumandala, etc., like this. And Hayagriva manifests the Vedas from his mouths. And then we get in the special category Narasimha, Rama, and Krishna. He doesn't specify what great powers, but obviously we see in the case of Rama, that he has many, many pastimes. So obviously he shows many qualities through those pastimes. As for Nrsimha, we don't see so much about his pastimes, but there are other Puranas which mention some of the different Leelas of Nrsimhadev as well.
Can we accept that Leela also, whatever mentioned in the other Puranas about Nrsimhadev and Nrsimha?
If they're non-contradictory to the Vaishnav philosophy, then we can accept those stories also. There's a Nrsimha Purana, for instance. Sometimes I think a few quotations come from that by the Acharyas.
One more person want to say, yes, Shishupala, because it is in Krishna and Krishna killed him, although whatever Shishupala said about Krishna is a good quality in another sense.
Yeah.
But in that those are like Sukadeva Goswami, he in a different way. But our Acharyas are positive qualities. Sometimes even the devotees, when they say something wrong about other devotees, but it's a wrong accept, but although that devotee may not accept it because of his falsehood. But at that he, because at that he may realize it, or we can say that because devotee's quality is that what a bad quality he can accept it, there is no wrong. Except yes, I have good quality, I might have. So how to overcome this? How to settle this? This is okay. I have it. How to accept this? Yes, I have a bad qualities. Because when once say that I have a bad quality, that means he becomes humble.
Yeah. So obviously the way of overcoming all of that is to practice what Lord Chaitanya says, Trinadapi Sunichinatorapi Seshnuna. So if one cultivates that, then one is not disturbed in any case by criticism or whatever.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed so much like that Ramachandra Muni used Chaitanya Mahaprabhu like anything. But still Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a positive way.
Yeah.
He didn't take it negative, yes.
Yeah.
I have this problem.
Yeah.
But he's a Lord, he's showing, but why devotees can accept it?
Well, maybe they're not practicing properly, that's why.
It's a positive way.
Yeah. So then they have to cultivate the instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in chanting Hare Krishna. Then they become humble and tolerant, and they don't expect honor. And then,
so that can you say that because of ego?
So that naturally happens with advancement. The more the devotee advances, the more they manifest danya, or humility. Yeah. And the highest devotees have the most humility. So the gopis have the most danya. So therefore, some people will think humility is a bad quality, but actually it's a good quality in devotional service, and it accompanies bhakti itself.
Can you say that this?
So if they don't manifest that humility, then that means their bhakti is not very advanced.
So this danya or humility fully manifest when someone is Brahman stage?
What's that?
This humility or danya?
Yeah, naturally. Yeah. So therefore the prema bhaktas, they're invisible. They don't even advertise themselves at all. And you don't even know who they are in many cases. Yeah?
But on the contrary, we find that the neophytes even claim everything to be theirs and they have the right to do it because everything is Krishna's. We are part of Krishna and try to exploit the things and misuse the things. How to channelize their energy and thoughts in the right way?
Well, definitely there's always opportunities for devotional service, but at the same time, it doesn't mean we deprive other people of service also. So it has to be cooperation. And if it's not there, then that means they have pride, which is material.
Thank you. He দেখছো বুঝতে পেরেছেন